Hey, everybody, welcome back to Lunch Money with Scott and Edan. This is the podcast that helps you close faster, forecast better, and sound smarter in pipeline reviews. I am Scott Schnaars.
I'm Edan Gottlib, and thank you guys for joining us again. Today's topics is mutual action plans. Some people like to call them the thing that prevents you and your deals from dying in legal or anywhere else in quicksands. Part of what we're looking to do here, generally in the podcast and specifically in the episode, is really we're trying to map and separate what do the top performers in the world are doing versus what others, and really share with you guys the secrets and the mechanisms and the formulas that they're using. And this is definitely one that separates the top performers from the others, from all the others that send you the emails like, "Hey, I'm just following up," and every week and try to use it as their personality trait in order to create a connection. So that's the topic for today.
I love the hey, just following up personality trait. I think that's, God, there's so many of those. So today what we're going to do is we're going to cover what a MAP is, a mutual action plan. We're going to cover what that is, why it's important, and how do you build one out. And more importantly, how do you keep your buyers accountable to it? And along the way, we'll give you little action items that you can use to actually do things today that will make you more productive and more successful. So, Don, why don't we start with what is a mutual action plan or a MAP?
Yep. So a mutual action plan is exactly what it sounds like. It's a shared document, emphasize on shared, between you and the customers you're working with, that really outlines everything that needs to happen, when it needs to happen, by whom they have to be, by whom it needs to be performed, everything that needs to happen in order for the deal to get from where you're at today to get it done, so the customer can get the benefits and get the value of what they're buying from. It really outlines every step, the owners, the deadlines required in order to move forward and really get to live.
Yeah, I think it's really important that people recognize that a mutual action plan is not a proposal. It's not a timeline that you put in Salesforce.com that nobody's going to take a look at. It's something that's collaborative, and it's something that is built with the customer and for the customer. So, oftentimes, any kind of plan, whether you're building a house or you're having a wedding, that planner is going to give you dates. It's going to give you decisions. It's going to tell you who's responsible, so that there are no surprises along the way throughout the entire buying and selling process.
Two important things. I want to point out here, though. This is not about forecasting your sales process. Although, if you do this really right, you forecast really, really well. But people get confused between, we're doing it for forecasting. No, this is about aligning to what the buying process is on your customer side and make it clear way to success and what success would look like. So don't get confused about that. The other thing is, which is super important, is you have to tie this to outcome, right? And we need this contract signed by June 15 because your CMO needs to get the campaign live by August 11, not because it's your end of quarter. And so really make sure you're connected to the outcomes of your customers and what's important to them as you tie it up, not what's important to you.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Adon. You really have to focus on their urgency, not your own personal, quarter end or month end. It's a MAP isn't about your close date. It's about what their go live date is, and it's about when they're going to get value out of whatever it is that you're selling. And if you don't know what that date is, or if you don't have a sense of what that value is, you haven't really earned the right to send out a mutual activity plan or a mutual action plan anyway. So,
yep, it's called a map, right? Use it to
right.
get to a destination. That's the point of it. It's not just the acronym.
Boom.
It's also a very good tool to really identify red flags early. If you don't have any timelines, or there's no urgency, or you don't know who the stakeholders are, there's no alignment, there's a lot of things that fairly quickly surface. And then if the deal is ready to close, is it a real deal? Really, really quick.
So here's the first real action item that you can do. And I would strongly encourage, as soon as you listen to this, I would encourage you to, do this right away. And the action item is thus: go into your CRM, find one deal that you're working on that's over a certain dollar threshold, 25, 50, 100K, whatever you like. And just ask yourself, do I know what the exact steps are for that this buyer needs in order to make a purchase. And if you don't know those things, right? If you can't just go like, okay, like on Monday they're going to do this, and by the 1st they're going to do this, and by the 15th they're going to do this. If you don't know those things, then just write down like 3 likely steps that you think that they're going to need. It might be it has to go through legal, it has to go through procurement, we need to go get an executive sign off, whatever those things might be. Just get in the habit of thinking about what are the things that your clients need to do in order to sign off on the deal that you're working on.
And if you're a leader or a sales leader, sit down and look and find the last 5, 10 deals that you guys did, successful ones that got closed, and really map out everything that needed to happen or everything that you went through in order to get the deal done in each of these deals, and just map it all out, pun intended. And then as soon as you got it, boom, you have a template for a map.
There you go. And I'm sure some people are, everybody's heard about this. Everybody who's been in sales for any amount of time knows, kind of roughly what a map is. They may not necessarily know why it's important. And I think one of the things that causes your deals to have a slow, painful, agonizing death is just ambiguity. And what the map does is it brings clarity into your deal, and it tells everybody that's involved, hey, here's what's happening, here's who's doing it, and when are they going to accomplish those tasks by.
Now, it also helps your champions and their customers to go through their internal selling. They need to come in and say, here's a document that shows the boss that, hey, we actually got a plan. Look at this plan. And it really lays out everything in every step. Oh, we're going to go, you got legal, you got procurement, you got integrations, you got onboarding. Everything is there. There are no surprises when you get to every one of the steps. For legal, where this one came from. And there is a clear path of how we get to their success, not to a date where we sign a contract. And so really empowers your champions to be in a place that they look like they know what they're doing, and helps them progress things along the way in their companies.
Yeah, and if you do a halfway good job of it, the other thing that it does is it creates accountability without any kind of awkwardness there. You're not hounding people. You're just following the steps that they helped you to define. Again, this is mutual. So when you have a mutual action plan in place, and if it truly is mutual, and you're not just like sending over a document with a bunch of dates on it, if it truly is mutual, it gives you the permission to chase people without being annoying. You're not nagging. You're just following the plan that we all agreed to.
Yeah, and if you think about it, it also gives you the protection from getting surprise stalls. We have all these groups that we stumble on, legal or security, and it's not just you get stalled. It's your champion, again, trying to achieve something, and they get stalled and surprised about it. It's mutual, right? As in the mutual action plan. And really the map smokes. Yeah, it's very mutual. The maps really smokes out these blockers really early, or helps you get ahead of the curve and make sure you don't fall into these traps. And let's face it, buyers will flake on you, the internal priorities will change, people ghost you up. The map really gives you a reason to re-engage in kind of an objective way. Hey, I'm just checking in on the steps. We both agreed it was supposed to happen this week, or I'm just looking into, we wanted to get this done because it was important. And so you have the method to connect with them based on what you mutually agreed on.
Yeah, so it's professional. It's really well aligned. And in my experience and in Edan's experience, like this is how top performing sellers work with their customers together. So another action item that we can give you here is the next time you're on a call with a buyer, like, Monday afternoon after you've listened to this, because I know everybody's waiting with bated breath when we launch this on Monday mornings, the first question that you should ask when you talk to your buyer is, look, has anybody on your team ever bought product like this before or services like this before? And if so, like, what were the steps that were involved? And if you just ask that one question and you shut up, what that does is it opens the door to building out a really successful mutual action plan.
And it's amazing. This is such a simple question that opens a whole lot of conversation, again, for you and your champion there, or the customers, to truly figure out what needs to happen. It's amazing. All right, let's talk about how do we create a map and how do we get buy-in, the whole process that can sometimes feel awkward and problematic for people. So first rule is you don't email a 12-step plan after your first demo. Nobody wants to look at this multi-tab kind of spreadsheet they used to. This is not a map. This is a scare tactic of like, I'm trying to progress. I don't know what I'm doing.
Terrifying.
Don't call it what?
It's terrifying.
It is, and it's on both sides. By the way, you're usually scared, and then they get scared when they see it. Also, don't call it a map. Especially not on the first calls. Nobody wants that. Map and there's these templates out there with, I mentioned, spreadsheets with tabs, and after one conversation, you drop that on them, and now they have more homework to do, and you have to figure this. Don't give them homework. You need to earn the right to have these conversations. You need to earn the right to send them these things.
Yeah, and that's really easy to start to earn that right. Is just start by asking about what are the critical dates in their process, right? What's driving the timeline that they're asking about, or when do you need this to go live? And not only are these really good qualification questions to start with, but it also lays the timeline for when the map should be finalized. So if today is, we're recording this on April the 19th, and if the client says, oh, we want to be live by August the 1st, like, when, what's driving that? When do you tell me more about August the 1st? And it leads to conversations. And then you can ask the question, like, what has to happen between now and August 1st for you to buy this? And Don, like, let's walk through kind of what that reverse engineering looks like.
Yep. And that's the key point. It's reverse engineering. You start with anchoring okay, this is what needs to happen and by when, because it's important to you. And then you work backwards and say, from that goal, here's what needs to happen, and map all these things out. And it just start with it, kind of, Scott, as you outlined, it's a very simple formula. To hit this date, we need to probably sign by X. And before that, we probably need to go through legal. So that will take Y weeks. And then who's going to own this one? And then, okay. So co-build that plan step by step, walking backwards from go live to what needs to happen to go live. This is where, we mentioned the action of create a template for the managers and even for the individual. If you have a template, it helps you kind of make sure that you cover everything versus start with a blank sheet of paper. But that's the point. You start with the end and you walk backwards with everything that needs to happen, who is in charge, how long would it take, and now you have a plan.
Yeah. And once you have a really rough sketch of what that looks like, just share it casually. Right, you can say, "Hey, based on what you said, based on what you told me about X date, I put together a draft plan, and would you mind taking a quick look at it?" You can send it over an email. You can be fancy and put it in Google Docs or Notion or Canvas or flow chart it out. Like the point is, the format doesn't really matter. Anything that works for you and for your customer is going to work, but you should just get them something that starts to lay the foundation of like, what is the process to get to our end goal of X day?
And don't be shy. Ask for feedback, right? Did I get this right? I mean, this is the point about this is the mutual part of it. You also, this way, kind of invite them to collaborate and work with you and kind of build and establish that collaborative relationship. And then you'll see either they collaborate or they freeze, and that gives you a signal of what's going on. You learn that it's real or is it not a real deal. We even had multiple time customers really helping us putting it together. And you know why? Because at the end of the day, most of them don't really know. Most of them don't buy these softwares on a regular basis or specifically your solutions. And they need to figure out what the process is. And they don't know. And by creating this collaborative process and by suggesting, hey, here's what usually needs to happen. Is this your case too? It helps them understand what will happen, helps them to get ahead of the curve. So here's a quick action item for you guys, right? You create your map skeleton, right? Look at what will be the major milestones that every company, every customer has to go through in order to get into production, not just to buy this. And who should be, usually is the owner or the person responsible for that, and kind of, how long it should be taking, so you kind of have a sense of like, this should be taking, legal should be taking 3 months or 2 weeks kind of thing. Put that skeleton in place. That will allow you to carry something into the conversation when you do the reverse engineering motion versus just ask a blank question that sometimes, as we mentioned, the customers wouldn't have the answer because they've never done it before or done it once many years ago.
Yeah. And once you have that template in their hands, like now comes kind of the scary part for a lot of sellers, and that's holding their buyers accountable to the mutual action plan that you built. And holding people accountable to anything it can be scary. But it's not scary if you're not doing it with them, right? Like, remember, this is a mutual action plan, with mutual being the operative word here. So there you have it. Like, it's
We'll have to
mutual.
count how many times we say mutual in this. Things you could do. I mean, to Scott's point, you can reach out and say, "Hey, I'm just flagging it because we're behind on assignment X, and should we adjust the timeline and anything we could do to do this?" So it's about helping. It's not about blaming. It's not about calling them out. It's really about there's the plan, and we're off the plan. So now the other thing is always make sure that you connect it to the business impact kind of next step. So you said the team needs to be trained by July. If we don't get that legal started this week, we're risking that thing. So bring it back and connect these action items that are being stalled to some business impact that is important to them. This is not pressuring them. It's reality, right? We need to get this done so they can go get trained. And so this way you make sure that they are successful and they stay on track to deliver whatever they promise their bosses they're going to do. You got to remember you're there to help them, right? You're there to help them make this happen. And when things fall off the list and don't happen, then you won't get to that results. So this is about what they need, when they need it, and you kind of task mastering them to get there. You're not selling. You really are kind of leading the way for them to achieve value. It's an important thing to know. You're not trying to sell them. You're not trying to micromanage them. You're not trying to task master them. You are trying to help them make sure they achieve their value. It sounds like a small nuance, but it's an important, different mindset of how you operate. And then your relationship will be very different if you operate that way.
Yeah, the two things that Adon just said there really hit home. One is, like, in my experience, when you tell a business leader that has agreed to a date that they have the potential to miss that date, man, do they jump through hoops to accelerate things to ensure that they don't miss that date? Because oftentimes, like, their neck is on the line for hitting said date, right? And if they've committed to their boss or to their company, they're going to have something by August 1st. Like, they don't want to have egg on their face if they don't get to that. And then the other thing that Adon said that resonated was, I do think that some of the best salespeople in the world are really good project managers. And when you put together the map, like, it just helps you be a better project manager. So went off script a little bit there, but kind of coming back, like, if somebody does go dark on you, just forward the map. Say, hey, like, we're revisiting this plan, and do you want to sync on the next steps? I think that a way to avoid people from going dark is to just include regular map review sessions as part of your mutual activity plan, right? Just put those on the calendar. You gotta, you want to go live in 12 weeks. You're going to have like 12 weekly meetings that are already on the calendar for the entirety of the mutual action plan. And don't be afraid to reference a plan. You have the right as a seller to say, hey, Adon, I noticed that we're a week behind on the security review. Do we need to revisit the go live date? Nobody wants to do that. But what can we do to get this back on track? Do you want me to reach out to your security team to do that review? Do you want me to have my security team reach out directly to your team to help them get that done faster? There's lots of ways that you can hold people accountable and not be a jerk about it, but to make everybody's life a lot easier during this process.
And just to emphasize one of the points here, I think that Scott's making that is important. Don't be the one that just points out, hey, here's a problem or here's a delay in the plan. You're the one that suggests solutions. Work together with them to address the solution and to solve it. The example Scott gave is like, we got a problem with security. Do you want me to step in? Do you want my team to help? Try to solve the problems. It creates a really great type of a rapport and a relationship of accountability between you and the person on the other side. And there's no like a bad guy on the discussion. The plan has the problem, not you, Mr. Customer, not me, Mr. Seller. It's like the plan has a problem, and together we have to kind of go and address it together, and we're going to go help solve it. Don't be that important thing. Remember, people have a lot of things to do. Make sure you are not the one that adds more to do things and more tasks to their list. It's already very busy. You need to be the one that helps them check stuff off. So even if something is off, hey, you go do this work. Now you added a to-do list. Let me go in and fix it and talk to legal directly. Oh, I just help you fix one of them. Super nuanced, super important. That's just part of how the rapport and the relationship is being built.
And I think like a really good way, another good way of doing this is to involve other stakeholders. You're involving other stakeholders at the beginning when you create your mutual action plan from the get-go, because you're saying like, well, okay, who's going to do security? Who's the executive sponsor that needs to sign off on it? Who's the legal person? You're adding all of these names to it. So you're going to copy all of those people on the map from the get-go. So if you do run into a situation where your champion's gone dark or they're ghosting you, give the executive sponsor that visibility into that mutual action plan on day one. That way you can go to any stakeholder that's part of that map and just say, hey, like, we're making sure that we're still on track to hit your team's go live date, or just giving you visibility here. We're a little bit off track, and I know that this is a key initiative for you. How do you want us to proceed? And just giving the visibility to everybody involved, because we all have jobs, we're all busy, we're all running a million different directions. Like, this mutual action plan may not be like the highest thing for you. So when you have that map there, just keep all of the stakeholders engaged and keep all of them accountable using all the tactics we just gave you.
Keep in mind, map gives you air cover, right? It's the reason to escalate. It gives you kind of I'm going to using air quotes, the objective reason or even authority to run the plays you want to run on the account and to progress it to get into the deal, and then for them to get into value and then to put into production success. It's your air cover.
Yeah. So keep in mind, you're not being annoying. You're being a project manager, and like I said, some of the best salespeople are the best project managers. You're being an enabler. You're being a problem solver, and most people actually want a problem solver, at their right hand. Like that's a valuable position to be in. So.
And I'll just add one more thing
Yeah.
to your project manager. It's so important because there's this fine line between the project manager who is a taskmaster versus the project manager that steps in and solves problems that make a project successful. And they need to be in the second category. The great salespeople. And you're right, they are masterful project managers, but not in terms of a task mastering. More about, I get stuff done.
Yeah. So another action item for you is add a map checkpoint to your weekly pipeline review. Now, this is especially valuable as a sales leader. You want to bring up the map in your pipeline reviews. As you're sitting around looking at deals, like you can just look at it and go like, oh, you know what? On April the 20th, we're going into legal. Are we still on track to go do that? Yes, we are. Fantastic. Good. Let's move on to the next one. It makes your pipeline reviews go so much faster when you have that. And I would say as a rep, if you're not doing this, or if your leader isn't doing this, you should be proactive about it. You should be bringing up the mutual activity plan and saying like, hey guys, like this is where we stand with this deal. I've got the map. If you want to see it, take a look at it yourself. But I've got it and it's on track, or it's not on track and I need help here to get it back on track. But I would ask yourself, for every deal that you have, what is the next step that the buyer owes me on this plan, and how overdue is it? And start to, you can build your map halfway through the process and start that as the foundation there.
All right, let's kind of wrap it up. So for recap, map is not just a document, and it's not just a task that sometimes your leader wants you to do. It's really your deal's GPS, right? As we said, the map tells you figure out where you want to go and how you're going to get there. Without it, you're guessing. Without it, you're not in control. Without it, you're going to stumble across a lot of things. With it, you have control, you have visibility, you can really help not just yourself close the deal, you can really help your customer get to where they want to get. I mean, they're engaged with you, they're working with you because they want to achieve a certain goal in a certain time frame. Your job is to help them get there. And this is the difference between kind of hopa forecasting and I think I know what's going on, and really working together and collaborating somebody to get to an outcome in the date that they wanted to and that you said they're going to be doing it.
And I love the hopa forecasting.
It's a category.
I think we need hopa forecasting T-shirts or something. But all right, so I guess in closing, like if I'm a seller and I'm listening to this, and there's only one thing that I can do today to make me more effective with a mutual action plan, here's your final action item on this. I would pick one active deal that you have, and I would schedule a 15-minute call with your champion like tomorrow, and just say, hey, can we map out the steps between now and your launch together? And that's the easiest way to start. There's no template, there's no pressure. It's just a real conversation. And Edan, like I know most of our listeners aren't going to know who Dima is, but like Dima always had this thing called the light map. And it was basically just that, what do we have to do between now and getting this signed? And he would just throw it into an email, and then he would start adding, making it more complex as times went on. But that light map is a great way to start, and it's very low pressure. And you're just having a real conversation there.
And the funny thing here is that the questions you need to ask are very simple, non-threatening,
Yeah.
no pressure type of questions. These are simple. It's like, okay, so what needs to happen? And it creates such a great dynamic between you and your customer. And you get this agreed upon plan, and now you're aligned, and now there's accountability, and now everybody's got a much better shot for this to work and be successful. And so it's such a simple thing, and it became this monsters of either process or bureaucracy or enforcement. While salespeople, you want to have it. You always want to do it, and it's very simple to do it.
So that's it for today. Go out and build better maps, and please, for the love of your pipeline, just like stop winging it and stop depending on a hope forecast there. Thank you for attending.
All right, get you guys next time on Enlightened Running.
Cheers.